answer honest questions, because we only get so much time and I'm trying to prioritize. So if the answer to any of this is, yes, I would like to run that, I'm cool with that, I just need to know. So, we've been talking about Old Joe Clark and playing it faster and with better emphasis. Is there anybody who was wanting to run through that tonight to just get a feel for the tempo and that kind of thing? Okay, so let's do that first. We're not going to do it super crazy long, but we're going to get a sense for it. So, Katie, can you kick us off here?
And do you want to do G's or... Okay, because there's the whole discussion. Are we in the right place or not? Do you want E's or G's? E's are fine? Okay.
You're a lot more laid back than some of our competitors.
Oh, still more put it
All right, so, here would be cool. You're fine there. We can go faster. 1, 2, 3, go. That was faster. Could you guys hear? I'm dropping Katie. It's a real boomy room, but can you guys hear? For a while, we had good timing. There was no like speedy up, slow down, but we kind of had da 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 like a duck. I want you to be slightly more like duck taken off. So we need to feel where that da 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 has to be really clear because dancers are frequently confused, right? And our job is to dig them out of a hole that perhaps the caller has made for them. What is happening? Who knows? But at least I know where the feet should go. That is our job. And you guys were starting to really like hit that groove. So more of that would be good. Also, that was very cool. Also really digging the Ninja sound. I really like that. Really brought out that is that tune. That is the character. It sounded really nice. So, good. Really, I don't think we're going to have a big tempo problem. I'd just like to think more about accented, unaccented. If your foot is tapping, that should be an oomphier note. It was much better every time we do it, but just constant vigilance.
Quick question.
Yes.
Second to the last note, do you want to hear it G natural or G sharp?
Fair question. Do you want G or do you want E? That becomes or do you want the full 3/4 turnaround, which becomes kind of impossible when we get it up towards
I
that.
would say on a single G.
Yeah. Well, because you can G, E, and back.
Oh, where the first A is?
Yeah. Right, like you can make it a 3/4 turnaround, but once we get it up at full 9-pin speed, there's no reason for any of that. So, as the current Lord of the Rhythm section, do you have feelings on a preference for the A to the E or the A to the G?
No.
He fits right in. I personally like the E on the turnaround and the G on the first. Anyway, like the first A and the first B. I like the G and then.
That answer leans G sharpward.
Okay.
The other option, I mean, that sounds like that's not in line with your variation, so that's okay. The other option is to just have 2 Bs. And what that does is that gives you everything else a moment to just go right? And then that way you get the free pass. And then once you kind of hear what this, you're like, oh, I sense an E major, G-sharp's okay.
Okay.
So, at the moment, it sounds like we're leaning towards the E, so if you want a G-sharp, go for it. But that's your neutral note.
Okay. All right.
Cool. All right. This brings us to Buffalo Gals Cluck Old Hen. How are we feeling on that? Like, would we like to run it?
Yes.
Okay. So, the things that I am prioritizing here are, as always, emphasis, right? So, if you're not getting a down bow on the downbeat, let's make that happen in the nearish future. That's where your drive is, right? And da 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 doom, right? So anything you can do to either. I would like to personally suggest da 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 da, right? Saves me every time. But if you have an alternate way of doing that, I don't care. But you really need another down bow coming up. It is played A B, right? No repeats for the particular dance that we do it for. And then we go into Cluck Old Hen. As with all of our changes, why do we change tunes at all?
Because we're bored.
Because we're bored, right? And if we're bored, that is it.
Then forget about it.
Right. So there should be an upshift in energy. So the last thing we want to do is sneak into the next tune like nothing happened, right? It should be an event. So we've got that. It needs to be punchy, it needs to be clear. Part of that is getting out of the other two, like in a clear way. So right, don't hold on. Like a little teeny tiny hole between those two things will do a lot for you. So we're just going to do that until you call change. We're going to do a whole bunch of buffalo and then into change. Can you kick it off too? Just give us a couple of things about here would be nice. Good. So, let's just do it from the A. one thing that is causing most of the tripping is more your right hand than your left. And we kind of tend to blame the left hand. Why don't you do your thing? It's not doing its thing because all the focus is going here, and your whole right arm is like, wow. And then it's trying to pull all the brain over here, and then there's just no brain for nobody. So I know it seems like the least important thing, but the faster we go, the more that's not true. And so the more you can figure out if you're going da 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 da, it's those little pickup notes that if you're listening to like the full speed recording, you do not hear them. If you do that, you will be able to play it faster. I'm going to go out on a limb and imagine most, if not all of you type. This hand does that kind of stuff all day, right? What your right arm does not do is this at the office. So this is the one that needs your attention. And it's like when you don't pay attention to the dog and it starts going off and doing things. We all do. So, things you can do this week. I don't see a ton of it, but you may just want to check and see whether your shoulder is trying to be involved in the back and forth bowing at all. It needs to stop that if it is. One way to check that is you find yourself a convenient doorway where you can put your elbow here. Notice you have full extension this way, and I can do all of this that I need to. If my shoulder tries to get involved, there's some pretty immediate feedback. This is a gross motor joint. It just can't do the kind of stuff that we're looking for. What it can do is it can raise and lower to get your other strings, and it will need to do that, but it shouldn't lose contact. Trick is getting your foot shape first and back it up. Don't put yourself against the wall and try to figure out how to play. Okay. So, the other thing is, you, me, everybody, we all need more wrist, more fingers in our bowing. That is where it's at, right? So a thing you can do for this at home is set your metronome on something real slow, like 60 beats per minute-ish. And can you just give me an annoying clinky note at about 60? That's perfect. The facial expression really sells it. So you're going to do 4 beats down, and then 4 beats up. This forces all of your joints to move, because if they don't, you poke yourself in the eye. So then you do 2 down and 2 up. You should now be using half as much air as you were when it was 4 and 4. Because I'm not speeding up the bow, I'm just using half as much. Make sense? There's shorter notes, not faster ones. Then I go to doing 4, so 1 per beat. And then, notice at this point, not a lot of arm in it, right? And then, when I get to doing 4 notes per beat, there is no elbow in that. It's all wrist and fingers. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna, whenever I tell you to change, we're gonna go to half as much bow to beatness as we had. Does that make sense? So 4, 2, 1, half. Okay. I hate to make you do that, but
I have a napkin.
no. Let's see if we can do that. So if you are not a bowed person, see if you can find a way to translate this just to how big a motion do you make? Can you minimize your motions on that kind of stuff? Economy of motion, so 1, 2, here you go. So it's full. And watch your wrist. Is it moving? That's cool. Remember, you switch to doing just 2 of them. So 2 down, 2 up. Now we're going to do 1 of these beats. You should be covering half as much hair. Cover the same amount of hair. than actually using the muscle there. This just isn't that fast. So you want this in there. When you've got that going, try going. So you get used to switching out of exclusively wristed fingers to, oh, that's right, it's a quarter note, that needs an elbow. That it's always this, and it's this when you need more extension than you could get with the wristed fingers. Does that all make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to apply that more on some of our notier notes tonight. But be mindful of where you might need a slur or you might need a down, a little tiny up bow, because staying down bows on those down notes doesn't just make us more rhythmic and punchy, it just makes it physically easier to continue to play that. It's a sad moment. Angelina Baker. Let's do that. Not yet. The suspense is literally but so who knows the melody? See some cautious nodding. Let's not go full dance speed then. Let's go get into it as a Mosey. So can you give us just a D chord like da 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 da? Just go for it. Good. That's perfect. So, once we kind of found the tail of it, we were in a good place. But I feel like there was this moment where we collectively all went, should I do something? And the thing we should be doing is what? Who remembers what happens at the end of Angelina? We resolve it, right. Because otherwise we get da-da-da-da-da, and it's hanging on an A, right? But it's not actually in A. It's in the key of D, so it's hanging on that unresolved chord, which gives it tension, right? But that's about to be our new key of A, right? So if we didn't resolve it before changing, it feels like nothing happened. And that defeats the whole purpose of playing with the fingers. So what we want to do is we're going to go da 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 da, and instead of hanging on A, da 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 da, A, B, D. So just do that with me. So it starts that last little bit of the melody, da 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 da, A, B, D. Are we all one on that? So let's try that together. 1, 2, from the E, da 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 da, A, B, D. Good. Again, and go. One more time. Okay, we want that to just be da 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 da. You're not gonna hold it out at the same time. There's another tune coming. So do it again. 3, 4. Da 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 da. Absolutely. You're gonna jump it up to Sammy. Does that all make sense for everybody? Same thing happens for you guys on chords as you actually get a resolution, but I'm presuming you can, you know. Okay, perfect. Fantastic. So, we're going to do one beat part. So when you get to the end of that, we're going to do that resolution bit and then go straight into Sandy Boys. Okay? What is your starting note for Sandy Boys? Which is convenient because you landed on that when you're on the A string, you just pop it over to the E string and there's your start. Does that all make sense? Okay? Also, I hear that low octave part happening. I was so excited, like, wait, where is it? I hear it, I'm excited. So, kudos for going for it. It really like brings some richness to that. So I'm excited. Yeah, it's a great time. Okay, so 1 beat into the change. We all together. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and. I want the whole beat, but only one of them. Are we all together? So just give me that. So an entire beat part, so we get the context. So it'll be da 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 da. Starts from that A walks down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're overall good, but we could use a little bit of tightening on. Just another small note in the da da. You're going A G. G is a what finger note? Seeing a couple of ones sneaking in. So just like go home and self-check. Because it's going to make life difficult later. Trying to do your tongue.
You're talking about Sandy Boys?
Yeah. It seems like you're pretty much okay on Angie, but there's just a little bit of the G naturals coming in, as if they're Fs, and it's just going to make other things crank later. So, cool. Also, bowing. But that's one of the things where it's never not important. But the moment where people start really noticing that the bow exists is when you start playing faster. Because you can kind of get away with it. You can force that up bow in a place where it's wonkety until you go 9 miles an hour. And then suddenly, it's like things where you're like, I'm going to go for a Sunday drive and this ancient pickup truck. Or Indy 500. Suddenly it really matters whether that bolt is fully screwed on. And that's kind of what goes on with your bowing. It's not getting worse. It's just there's things you're going to notice the faster we go is when it becomes more important. But overall, really nice, and we're getting cleaner and cleaner changes, so I'm really happy about that too. Okay. Also, if you know that tune, really know that tune, check out the low octave. It's a happy place. Angie can also go down an octave, which I hadn't thought about. I don't know why, but it's really cool down there. So go for it. Nice stuff. We talked a little bit last time about swallowtail jig to St. Anne's reel. What is important about that particular change? Yes, absolutely, right? Is we're going 6/8 to 4/4. So in a jig, your emphasis falls where?
1 and 4.
1 and 4, very good. In the reel, it falls on 1 and 3, which are actually the same places in time. That's the weirdness, is where you are tapping, where the dancers are stepping, does not change. How you squish the notes in between those two dominant beats, that's what changes. So, I'm guessing we have the tunes, but they're not real fast yet. Does that feel like an adequate description? Okay. So, I'm going to plan to go twice through each. I'll call the change. The additional factor when you're actually at a dance is there's a little bit of an adrenaline thing going on. So I'd like it to be pretty grounded here so that it's still within the realm of out in the wild. So the things you kind of work on at home is to be doing like da 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 da. What's weird for you, so I'll do the math here. You're going from 6/8 notes in a measure to 8/8 notes. Even though some of those are playing as quarters, that means that proportionally the eighth notes are shorter than they used to be, but the tempo didn't actually speed up. And that's weird for the person playing the eighth notes. People who get to stay on the beat, it feels a little bit different, although you guys have that stagger thing going too. What's weird is that for the dancers, they just keep moving, right? So for us, it's a matter of you have to still feel where that heavy beat is and not over-anticipate by how much faster that is. So how do we... I just want you to sing that and get the music making part of that. So just we're going to go... expecting it to be when you play. Okay. So can we do just the ending of that and humor me briefly? Just see, can you just step left and right? Because it helps you feel if there's a cadence to that. So we're just going to do that transition again. Also, if your version of St. Anne's had pickups, get rid of them. Just for the transition, they can go back in after that. Pickups, because they occur in the previous measure, those mean that they're still happening in more than 6/8, which just is weird. Trying to figure out the math of that, so just start right on that F sharp. So we're going to go. What does that start on? F sharp. So, sorry, the swallowtail part starts on a D.
Okay.
After that last part, and we're going to start on the. It'll be the last two measures of swallowtail, if that's helpful. And then straight into St. Anne's. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Better. Just that much again. So 1, 2, here you go. About a quarter of them, the math is in our paper. So if we can nail the transition, that's the part I'm worried about. Okay? Is that all right on that? I do. Time rushing. Oh, fantastic. That brings me exactly what these. Okay. Who all has Emma? Okay. And of the folks that are returning, who all has Bye for Now? Barely. Okay, maybe that feels like a next time thing. If we have time, we'll take a look at it. It's totally on time. So the thing that's most important to me, because again we still have time before the actual dance happens. But we'll do Emma and we'll do Bye for Now. Both of them need to be waltzes and not pretty things in 4/4 and 3/4. Okay? So let's really work that through on Emma since that's what we all have. What's the most important beat? 1. What's the least important beat? 2. What's kind of important because it's pushing you back to 1? 3. It was a bit of a gimme, but yeah. So you need to have that bum, da, dum, right? Because it's good to have the emphasis on 1. You need that, right? But if they're not totally knowing how to waltz yet, if they've just heard where the 1 is, it's too late, right? You have to guide them into 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, and 1. It's really the back half of 3. Does that make sense? So, so I should make that happen vocally, so you're not thinking about the technical stuff, and then we'll go back in. So, we're going to go, I'm going to drop a key, because otherwise we're not going to make it up. But your emphasis could not have been better, so I have no complaints. So, bow one. When that's a long note, that note is longer than its emphasis. Does that make sense? 1, 3. So that first note carries you through 1 and 2. So that first half of it is emphasized, and the latter half is not. So I have just this little, if you've got some leverage between your thumb and index finger, you're just giving it a little nudge. But you don't hold that, right? And if you're feeling pretty confident about your dynamic control, if you slow the Maybe without the duh, but otherwise, just like that. The emphasis was perfect. So I'm going to play the tag, and then everybody come in. I'd like to briefly give you license to overdo it. Right now, you're doing some good stuff in real subtle, nuanced ways. Just bordering on the place of being hearable. So if you can just sort of apply like the William Shatner School of Acting to your dynamics right now. Okay? And then I can dial you back. But we just need to kind of bust out there with the one, and then we can dial it back. Because, you know, having done this a long time with a lot of different people, something we've noticed is that people who want to play dance music apparently tend not to be people that are like, watch me play. Right? Is that we have consistently, quarter after quarter, got people who like to be in the community and play the tunes and watch people dance, and isn't that fun? And we tend not to be people that play real loud and want to get all up in everybody else's face. So I just need to pull a little bit more volume out of your guys. Now, not a flat line of shouting, right? But just da-da-da, just be a little over the top and I'll dial you back if it just gets too flashy. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Really the piano, not the piano. But the first time, it was hard for me to find the one. You know what I mean? So your first go around, the notes were all there, it was all very pretty, but I couldn't really tell what that was. That second time through, I know it felt very big and very dramatic. You guys were using a lot of bow to get the emphasis on one, and it was working great. But that maintained its danceability even without a rhythm section, which is as it should. So I know it feels like a lot, and we'll get to where we can do that without quite so much physical exertion, but that was where we wanted it in terms of projecting the emphasis. So I was really happy with that. I know it feels big from where you are, but do that always. Everyone else will be with you, so you won't be alone.
I have to say, when we having played for dances now, having dancers makes it easier. So like when you were up there dancing for us, I was like, oh yeah, that's how you do that. But no dancer, and it's like,
what is even the point?
Where is it?
Right? Is Because I have to say, I really used to hate waltzes. Like, I was like, oh my god, how do we even do this? Because I really liked, the rhythm of playing old-time music even before I got to really play dance stuff. And I was at somebody's birthday party, I don't know. They had a bunch of dancers, and so I got play waltz, and like, you watch the whole room, because they go one, bibbity, bop, and two, bop, and like, everybody's doing this. They're doing it in different ways, but it radically changes what you're doing. And it is as driving, as rhythmic as any hoedown or anything else you do, but it's just in this little bitty microcosm. And it makes a big difference for that. So, I agree. Okay, the returning folks of the Out on the Ocean Red-Haired Boy, Low Octave Cluck Old Hen, the Bye for Now Waltz, Kitchen Girl Dancing Bear, Kitchen Girl, are any of those things that you ran through this week? If not, but if so, tell me which ones.
All of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, what did you do, guys? Okay, fantastic. We probably won't get to run through all of them, but we will go through and run a couple of them. We're going to give you the Cliff Notes version of how that applies on Bye for Now, because you have, again, a lot of those long notes. Right, so even though it's a long note, it's not the same volume throughout, and that's kind of where we get there. Nudge that first half of the note, but you let the rest of it decay a little bit because it's not on as strong a beat.
And you do that with the speed of your bow, right?
Yes.
Mostly?
Mostly
You're not lifting it off or
oh,
you're
okay,
just...
yes, no. Yeah. Yes, no. There will be no lifting. There's definitely a slowing down, and at the very beginning of the emphasized notes, there's a little bit of this from the hand at the attack. Da, and then
Left attention off.
There are other times where, if that's kind of what I'm wanting on it, the two, sometimes I'll do 1, 2. I'll give it a little note to say, hey, there's a beat there, but it's not the heavy beat. Yeah, so it would be no. Okay, that's not as aggressively. And again, da da, because you're mid-step there. And you can do that in Emma as well. Which is very much part of the Scandinavian style, has that little mid-beat push. Which I was thinking the other day, I don't have research on this yet, but I'm kind of wondering if some of that comes from the prevalence of accordion in that style. When you think about how that goes, I kind of wonder if that is some of what inspired that. I need to do more digging and talk to some Scandi buddies, but between Out on the Ocean, Red-Haired Boy, and Kitchen Bear Kitchen, which one do you guys feel stronger about trying tonight?
Did you do the kitchen with the bear?
Yes. Yes.
Kitchen with the bear.
That's the two that would be great.
Here's the kitchen.
So, this material we've covered so far has those 8 notes. This is where you need the most of this happening. I'm not going to do it at dance tempo, because that's cruel and unusual, where we're at in the season. But we're going to go through. So, nice and slow, yeah. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. all I want to watch is a little bit more elbow happening. So, things to take a look at is your bow grip supporting wrist rotation. Can you see this bone? Or is it going away from you? This is really hard to do from this alignment. If you get this rotation, like you're looking at the face of a watch, this gets you a lot more wrist mobility. It may mean, if you're used to being here, it may mean you have a slightly higher elbow elevation than you're used to. But it pays off. So give that a try, see what you can do with that. But maybe you guys were in a really good place for that. You just need to work on getting it faster. We have time, but all of the AFib stuff we talked about will help. Yes.
I have a question. When you hold the bow like that, where is the balance? Are you I have to get cramp my thumbs, and then I end up breaking my thumb. So I kind of switched it to more classical. But is it like here? Like where's the balance of your bow when you switch it to when you lift the pinky off? Here, okay.
So it's finding the spacing between your thumb and index finger that counterbalances one another. Yeah. Which usually involves shifting the stick back to just behind that joint. Yes. And then if you give yourself 2 to 2.5 inches usually between those two, it still feels a little top heavy. Give the index finger a little bit more space from the thumb. Yes.
Like that?
Yeah. Now just ever so slightly back this way, because the idea is to get this space round. The more angular it is, it kind of makes things angry back here. But back we kind of, yes. And so you sort of find where that balance point is for you. Then you wrap these guys around the front, yes. And then the trick is, when you turn it over, obviously pinky's like, woo. But as soon as you get it on the string, you transition. So the feeling of weight you have here from gravity, when you turn it over, you add that weight till you can feel the string on the fiddle push back. And those are the 3 points that carry it. Yes. Yeah, so it's really the weight gets carried through the side of your index finger. And it's counterbalanced by the
So
thumb.
it's really just like these fingers.
Yeah.
Right? And then we can down here.
Yeah, these guys just kind of hang out and move with, because the string is a real active partner in carrying it. The trick is to make sure that however far away they were here that created that balance, they stayed and it shrunk a little on you.
Yeah.
Which,
I have like 20 years of oboe playing, so my right hand's all messed up compared to my other.
but no.
Yeah. So I'm like, I have weird.
So one way you can start with that is to start with like an invisible cup to get this space round, because that's part of what. Yeah, absolutely. I would leave it just like that, and if I may, that.
Like that.
Yeah. Also, you and I are not that far off in terms of wingspan,
No.
and so it may be more realistic for you to live here. That's
Okay.
because what it does is this, because of all the leverage of little itty bitty notes and not a lot of long notes. This is really where we live.
Yeah.
And if people our size are all the way down at the frog, we're like this when doing that, which you never see a middle of the road sized human doing. So here is what we're looking for, is that,
Choke it up.
right? Now, can this be taken too far? Yes, if I see some scary things on YouTube. Oh yeah. But what we're looking for is that if you Photoshop the bow out, everybody who's on the spectrum of technique is working for me, is when they're kind of at 0.0, that's at 90, and it's a straight line down their arm. The only way I can make that happen is if I'm here. If this is down here, right? Not happening. Nobody likes this. Yeah, I've had some conversations with my physical therapists, and they're like, are you sure? So here takes all of that out. And I never lived in the extreme range of that motion because of it. Yeah. So that's one of those things where watching yourself in the mirror to figure out at what point those angles line up for your body. We'll kind of take a picture of it. Tinker around with that. If that picture works for you, great. If not, email me. I have a series of photos and videos about that. If that would be helpful, just email me and I can send it to you.
I figure I've been moving around every 6 months because I don't know. And then I drop it. Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
We've all been there. You know, when you're like transitioning between groups, you're like, oh my god.
When you go from death grip to like, oh, look,
Yes. Well, right. Once you're living at depth grip, anything below that just feels like freewheeling crazy.
and it's like,
So
it's like being
it takes a while to kind of find that point. But yeah, that looks really lovely. So, the next thing I'd like you guys to take a look at.
It's not crazy at all.
If there's things from the previous highlighted list that you don't feel comfortable with yet, address those things. Because I'm not concerned about everybody doing kinda okay on everything. I'd rather you feel like really in yourself, connected to the music on a couple of sets, and go dance the rest of them, right? Because nobody's supposed to play the whole list. We remember this, right? At some point, you have to go and play dance instead of playing. So just be strategic about which one that is. But if you're feeling okay on the rest of the list, I'd like you to take a look at Eva's polka and Rich's full of stitches. And I'd like to have a brief conversation about how to polka. Like a lot of couple dances, there's a lot of different varieties to this, but the basic step is essentially you have a step, you're going 1 and 2 turns. You've got a step, change, weight, pivot, step, change, weight, pivot, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Does that make sense? So if you were attempting this footwork, what seems like the important beats to convey to someone doing this? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and which one?
The and.
Yeah, right? The 1 is like, yes, that is important, but that and is controlling your air time, which is important because the polkas go really fast. Somebody know Eva's like reasonably well? So about, yeah, you guys want to go? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Polka is actually more like right? So it's that offbeat, right? So where does that come in those tunes? So and that's telling them that we've got 1 and 2 giant pivot, and then you need to land. Much like the and. Right, the and of 3, so your waltz is 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1 is it leading you into that? Same thing with the polkas. So, for the time being, can you just give me to do first half of a bunch of contras and maybe some squares if they're feeling wily, a waltz to close the first half, and then some kind of couple dance to bring people back in. Polkas, schottisches, hambos, if there's a lot of Scandinavian folks in the crowd.
Depends on your audience.
Huh?
Depends on your audience.
Depends on the audience. The hambo is a mystery to me. Like, I understand how to play them, but the name alone. But they're really cool and they're really beautiful to see danced, but it is not like an entry level dance. And then you play another half of contras and a waltz to end it. So it is good to know how to play some of those couple dances when somebody asks you for one. It's good to know more than just the word polka is in this title. Because
you play it different.
Yeah, and particularly if you're coming at this from perhaps a previous classical background, your sheet music is written so differently from ours. There's so much, here are the dynamics, here's some and like everything you're supposed to do, mostly, is there. And artists is like, hey.
Here's some notes.
Yeah,
Maybe.
here's a sketch, right? Here are the bones, right?
Here's the framework.
And all the stuff that makes it sound fiddly and all the stuff that makes it danceable, they don't tell you that, which is really unfair if you're coming into it thinking this will tell me the thing. This happens all the time. People come in and say, we got this How to Fiddle book, and something's wrong with me. I play it, it doesn't sound like fiddle. I'm like, it's because they didn't show me that part. There's a lot of assumptions made. So there's that background piece, which is, again, the entire part of this class. If you don't know how to polka, no shame. That's what we're here for. Is if you know that, and if you had lived slightly earlier in American history, you would have, because there was no cable. And this is what everybody did, when people gathered together. So that's kind of our mission, is to re-up those things.
Bowing patterns. Are there some that we should practice, like polka bowing or the Georgia?
That's a really great question. The most important thing to focus on initially is, am I saying down bows on down beats? And that is usually fixed through 2-note up bow slurs. There's rare occasions where it needs to be a 2-note down instead, but usually it's, oh, this is going to be messed up, I slur 2, and then I'm back in the flow. I would start there.
So look through the music, find the 1 and the 3, and figure out, they're the 1 and the 4, depending.
Yeah, that's the, so here's the...
Try to stay down on
Here's the weirdness. When there's 4 of them, the hierarchy is such that these are the only ones you really care about being down bow. When you get into them being 8 notes, now these are also strong beats because we have the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, to be off beats.
Right.
So then when you end up with like this situation,
it just messes you up.
So what would you do?
Up bow on the end. And slur it with the...
Yes.
Until you transition strings, and then it really messes you up.
Yeah,
so then you have to
totally
kind of down into the other down, and
right.
But it's usually where it screws me up.
Yeah.
And then by the time I figured out, you speed up the song, and then
I hear you. But that is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it is the 2-note slur, and you're totally right about avoiding slurs across strings when you can. It's not the end of the world, but it's certainly not the easier route. And this is about just getting the physicality of it to work best. So if it works for you to look at the sheet music and analyze that out, great. If you just feel like it's wonky and you can feel how to unwonky it, that's a great method too. But I would kind of start there. Georgia bows, which are 3-note up bow slurs, are used decoratively. They sculpt phrasing in a nice way.
So that's less for correction and more for adding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
for like waltzes and things you might.
Well, yeah, and the waltzes have their own little quirky. Because you have frequently an odd number, you end up with a lot of down, up. Not always, but that's a significant part of that. But it's the faster tunes where it trips you more. So starting off finding those 2-note slurs or long and short up to stay down bow consistently kind of has to be done first, because otherwise you can find these really sweet, awesome places to put your Georgia bows, and then later when you fix this other thing over here, that doesn't work anymore. Or it worked out great on the first A and you come around the second A and it's gone, no one knows why. So kind of getting the structural soundness of the bow first helps.
And then adding notes when necessary to correct bow. Is that also? Because I've heard you say that a few times, right? So this is a half note. Let's make it a dotted quarter, and a hint of a note, and then move into the next one.
Yes.
And the faster you get, of course, those disappear.
Yeah, they're barely there, but they're there.
They're there.
Yeah.
It's enough to move the bow back where you.
And there's some oddball tunes where sometimes they'll even do that on a quarter and make them 2/8, but it kind of has to fit what's going on melodically. There's other tunes where like that quarter was the one moment of it not going.
Right. It was your breather.
Right, and it's just like it creates phrasing going dun 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 dun, which is great. And if you go dun 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 dun, it loses that, right? And so then I would lean more towards using a slur to fix that than I would cutting it in half.
Makes sense.
Okay.
It's
long
my
story
favorite
short.
That's why I bring it up.
No, but so long story short on that is bowing is kind of the make or break thing. It just isn't as attention grabbing when you first start, because if you've got the notes, you feel like the tune's working. And then as it goes faster, the bow betrays you. So investing in some 2-note slurs and some, like I say, if it's a half, it's not a quarter, that often fixes things for you there too. So I put some some brain there. I will send out the newly highlighted list of where focus goes. So that basically brings Eva's polka into the fold and sort of Kitchen Girl and Dancing Bear on everybody's to-do list. Next time we will run Out on the Ocean and Red Haired Boy and see how that's going, and we'll run Bye for Now too, so we'll kind of prioritize the ones we didn't get to tonight. Not at all mandatory homework, but if you are in the Seattle area, I'm in a band playing at Finney Ridge tomorrow night, which is if you haven't been to any of the country dance stuff, this is a good way to see how that goes. But they have them every Friday night, so you have lots of opportunities to go. And every Thursday, so you can go on the off week of class and go dance there. It makes so much more sense when you've done it. So you also really start listening to the bands differently. You're like, ooh, that was a cool change. Or, oh, what was that thing they did that made me notice that more against the part of, I'm kind of zoning out left hand, right hand. And kind of figure out what is it that made the parts that worked really well for you work, and when things really didn't fit, why was that? And see if you can use that to kind of, you can score the band later and tell us what we screwed up. But it is really good to get out dancing and be on the other side of the equation to figure out how this stuff should go. So I will update you guys on the homework stuff, and then we're going to kind of get a sense of which of these are going to be ongoing projects for speed, and kind of balance that with how many more new tunes we bring in as we kind of move along. You guys have done an amazing job of picking up new material and just having the tunes, really great stuff. Some of them do need to get faster to be at dance tempo, so we can work on that, and we'll be fine. But we'll throw in a couple new tunes as well. So if you have suggestions of tunes that you want on that list, let me know. And some of them I have to run through the spectrum of can we get that tune that fast by dance time? But Petronella is on the list, and somebody suggested a jig, I think, that escapes me. So if you have a suggestion, email me, let me know, tell me, and we'll add that to our list of fun stuff in the future. But really nice work tonight, you guys. The tunes that are less notey and that you're already fast at, you're getting really nice transitions on it, and I'm really pleased with where that's heading.